DundalkTV recently met two wonderful and amazing parents from Baltimore County Public Schools, Josh and Nicole Landers, who both share a very similar interest in preventing bullying and also a real passion for individuals who have special needs. DundalkTV had the opportunity to sit down with Josh and Nicole at their home with their friend Kevin Leary, who is helping them spearhead their fight against injustices that are occurring in Baltimore County Public Schools. The first question I would like to ask you is what you're doing about the problems with kids that have special needs.
So a couple of things that we're doing. One is we want to make sure that we're advocating for those particular families as aggressively and intentionally as we can. Nicole and I have a special needs son who's autistic, so we've had a lot of opportunity to understand the parental rights which are issued by the state, processes that happen with IEPs throughout schools, requirements from teachers in schools, understanding a whole lot more about the IDEA Act and ESSA and all of the different parts to the laws that are in place to protect those children, and empowering those families and those folks with special needs kids to help them understand what their rights are, what things they can ask for, how to maneuver the process and the system, and move their children a little bit further forward in being able to receive a free, appropriate public education.
I think Kevin can speak pretty powerfully to that too, having just done
with the young man Michael, who was assaulted. He was a special needs child that was assaulted at Perry Hall High School, and we just did a mediation hearing with his mom and the kid who assaulted him this week, and we had some really good outcomes from that, and we look forward to more outcomes like that. Now the kid who did the assaulting is going to be working alongside of us to help some kids in the same situation, and he's volunteered to be a big brother for the kid that he actually assaulted.
Yes, so you were saying on the drive here that actually you're turning that negative into a positive now, and I think that that's a great story. Hope that we get to speak to both individuals that were involved in that and show how things are working out. So so happy to hear that people are out there fighting for the individuals in the special needs community, because it's the most overlooked segment of our society, that I feel, and it's horrible the way so many of these people and families are being treated. So Nicole, would you tell us a little bit about your page that you're doing, Parents to Parents Network?
Sure. We run a Facebook group called Parent to Parent Network. We utilize that group as a means of raising awareness about the school violence and safety issues, as well as helping to reach out to families directly. Families do contact us through Parent to Parent online, and we're able to help counsel and direct them in meeting their children's needs at school, safety plans. And
We're predominantly focused on school violence and the predominance that violence has in interrupting children's ability to become educated. Not only for the direct victims, but for the indirect victims, the kids that are subjected to exposure to this type of violence down into elementary school levels. We want to drive change, and we are going to do it through masses. More people speak up, more teachers come and disclose information, more parents are sharing horror stories with us that we can help advocate for them and direct them within the processes that are in place, but starting to understand more of where the gaps in the system are, so that we can work to get those changed locally, federally, and also in the state.
yeah, we try to use the Facebook group as a platform to help parents understand why their children are facing some of the safety issues that they have, and what steps they can take that are effective to work toward resolve inside the parameters we have to work with right now.
And now with an election coming up, that's very important. We can put some people into office that are going to do the right thing for people. And Kevin is running for office. So and he's doing all the right things already. So he can't wait to get in there and do more. So best of luck to you on that. You're also dealing with some wonderful people that are inside of the system already, and they're getting ready to have an election for school board people. So you've been involved with some of those people as well. So who do you feel will do the best job that you can share with the voters? Because I don't think that people are well enough informed on that aspect of what's going to happen, and I think that that is going to be a huge catalyst with the right people in place to change the way things are, as well as our regularly elected officials in the future.
Well, what we can certainly speak to off the bat related to that is that there's been a core group who have supported and worked aggressively with our parent-to-parent as we've come online since January. And we would certainly speak to those group, Kevin being our number one guy, has walked beside us every step of the way and been anxiously apart. We can't more strongly speak to him and what he can do for our community and our schools. Additionally, what I'd like to say about this is that it's really imperative for every parent and every voter to do their research and know who it is they're voting for and why they're voting for them.
Within the school board, we've had, with the existing school board, we've built relationships with Kathleen Causey, Julie Henn, and Ann Miller. Ann, I would consider a friend even. Those three have been fighting very hard for transparency and accountability within the school board. We feel like within that process, there are going to be elections for 7 new members. We do encourage you to research those folks, to know exactly who it is that you're voting for. Make sure that they have addressed or spoken to the issues that are most important to you. There are several folks that we've paid attention to. Richard Young in the 1st District, Kathleen Causey for the 3rd District, Julie Henn in the 5th, Lily Rowe in the 6th, and Will Fuhr in the 7th. They are ones that we've had other folks that have endorsed their campaigns. We align very well with those folks. They seek and desire the same changes that we're seeking as an organization, and they're the ones that we really want to partner with within the school board to seek change, to bring change that has been very non-existent for the last several years.
Okay, now I had a discussion with Nicole, and she told me how the ball started getting rolling on all this with one of your children going to school when they saw something, and then they brought awareness to that, and then it led you down the road that you're at right now. So would you please share that story?
Absolutely. We pretty much got our start last fall when our then high school junior at Lockhaven High had observed a student brandish a concealed knife and threatened to stab another student in the class. Our son waited till the class was over, approached the teacher who sent them to administration, and after an anonymous report, we were not allowed to know the results of the investigation, but the student did disappear for a week. When that student came back, he immediately found our son and threatened him for having told, and that initiated our process. The school would not take action against that student for threatening our son, wouldn't help us file a police report, and refused to take the offending student off our son's bus, even though our son was terrified. They told us we could find another means to get him back and forth to school if he was too scared. At the time, we did go to the Parkville precinct and file a report on our own. And the officers at the precinct told us at that time that we should teach our children not to go to administration, but to go outside and dial 911 because they don't know what things are happening in the school. And if we teach our children not to go to administration, but to dial 911, then they can come and document and help for safety-related issues inside the school.
We also had an issue with our daughter. She was in 5th grade at the time. She was being harassed by a special needs student. We weren't told that he was special needs. It was identified to us through innuendo and a couple of other folks. However, the student elevated from sexual harassment to actual sexual assault. The occurrences had taken place a couple of different times with our daughter, and a couple of her friends. We addressed this with administration. They said it was handled. It continued to occur. We were told that the student had rights. It fell on deaf ears with Nicole and I. It did not equate. It didn't make sense. This young man was crossing a boundary in a line, and the school was taking his side. It was not until we reached out to the Maryland State Department of Education that any action was taken by the school, and the school year ended up finishing without any further incidents. This particular information we suspect did not go on the student's permanent record, because when they transferred to middle school, this same offending student was in 2 of our daughter's classes.
At her table.
It was dumbfounding, again, to where tolerance for sexual harassment, to where this was not added to his permanent record, to his educational record. It again fell on deaf ears. And then Nicole can tell you about our son, the most recent occurrences.
Well, and notably in both of those cases, we were repeatedly told that the offending students had rights, and we could not process why those rights superseded the rights of our children as victims, repeated victims. The third incident happened this fall with our 9-year-old son in the 4th grade, and a bullying process started as soon as the school year began. Josh and I had become a little wiser by this fall, so we pursued the school pretty quickly with bullying reports and meetings that throughout the year we made repetitive requests that the student be removed from the class without effect. They did put some actions in place as we started to become much more aggressive with safety plans, making them lay out the specifics of where adults would be in each scenario. And it culminated for its last time in April when our son wrote a suicide note and attached it to his chest, and was found sitting in the dark with the note.
Well, this is all horrible, and for it to happen to just one family is amazing. But unfortunately, this is not isolated incidents that we're talking about. This is all throughout Baltimore County Public Schools. DundalkTV has been following this for quite some time. There's a lot of sexual assaults that are going on. There's a lot of assaults going on, and the administrators aren't doing anything. But then when it goes up even to a higher level, the administrators are not doing what they need to be doing. Actually, I was threatened at a Baltimore County public school by a student with bodily harm. So I was a bit shocked about that. But have you tried to get in touch with some of the other, outside the school, the administrators, and how does that work? What have you seen there?
Kevin, why don't you speak to that?
Well, yeah, we have attempted on several occasions to, all 3 of us have gone to school board meetings and spoken, and we've talked to the administration on several occasions, and it just falls on deaf ears. I mean, they don't listen. When I'm speaking personally, for the last 3 meetings, I've spoken at their meetings, and there's 4 people on the board, and he's named 3 of those, and then Roger Hayden is also on the board, who helps us out. Those 4, Kathleen Causey, Julie Henn, Ann Miller, and Roger Hayden, will intently listen to what we have to say. The rest of them are on their phones, or they're reading a book, or they're looking for the next speaker. They don't want to hear from us. They don't really want to hear what is actually going on. I don't know if it's that they don't want to hear it, or if they just feel like they can't do anything about it. At the last meeting I was at, I asked for the school board to start a task force on school violence and bullying, and Julie Henn actually has forwarded that request, and hopefully it'll be spoken about at the next school board meeting on June 12th. But yeah, I speak to since January, I've spoken to hundreds of teachers, students, parents, SROs, and everybody's telling us the same things, that their hands are tied. They can't do anything about it.
Yeah, we get daily calls, whether it's through Kevin or through our organizational site or instant message, phone calls, referrals. We're taking daily calls from teachers and from families who are being assaulted, bullied, and that would include the teachers too, that are also being bullied, and in some cases permanently injured, permanently disabled as a result of violent students in the school.
Well, DundalkTV is here to give them a voice, just like we're here to give you a voice. So if anyone is not getting the exposure that they need on subjects that they have, feel free to get in touch with DundalkTV. Josh?
Absolutely. So Kevin spoke about talking with SROs. We have had instances where we've found that there have been specific school resource officers that have resigned their positions with the county police department because they were asked to violate the law. They were asked not to investigate crimes that occurred within school properties. So we've had the opportunity to read the MOU agreement between BCPS and Baltimore County Police Department. We've also had a chance to read the SRO program guide, which basically lays out everything that they are to do. The SROs, although they are sworn officers and report directly back to a sergeant at each one of their precincts, they are at the beck and call of the principal. If the principal says it, they have to do it. If they don't do it, those SROs are rotated or switched or moved. This type of control that a principal has within a school to manipulate the law is criminal, in our opinion. We need to work to eliminate this. Now, through our investigations, trying to understand how schools had drastically changed from when we attended, we came upon 2014 federal guidance from the Department of Education, co-authored with the Department of Justice. And essentially, they said that you need to lower your suspension rates of children with special needs and children of color. And because those two student groups had a higher percentage rate of suspensions and expulsions, you need to lower it, or else. And the or else was, we will investigate you for civil rights violations through Title VI, Title IX, Title II, Section 504, a bunch of different statutes that they put out there. Or we are going to withhold federal grant funding. So they essentially, because the Department of Education can't pass laws, they essentially threatened 500 school systems within the country. They have done investigation after investigation after investigation. And most of them will settle very quickly, provided the local school system adheres to these guidances and makes them adopted regulated policies. Well, those policies essentially say you need to discipline equally and you need to lower suspensions for these groups.
Unfortunately, the guidance also says that even if the schools do execute equal discipline, they'll still consider the discipline toward a disabled or minority student as harmful and threaten Office of Civil Rights investigations, even if the discipline is equally distributed between a white student, a minority student, or a white student and a disabled student inside the same event.
Yeah, she sent me a letter, and I thought it was pretty shocking how they spelled out, even, I believe it was in capital letters, white. So they were actually just bringing that out. And so you've been doing things on the federal level as well. So, explain the letter that you had shared with me, please.
So on a federal level, we were able to take a delegation to the U.S. Department of Education to do a presentation. Following that, I was invited along with my daughter to meet with the U.S. Secretary at a National School Climate and Safety Summit on April 4th, which we did do. Our daughter was the only chosen nationally to represent students to petition the Secretary to repeal these guidances so that we can make impact on each state with more reasonable moderated means of disciplining and intervening on students that are behaviorally acting out.
We've also found some national statistics that are pretty mind-blowing. The first one is that 200,000 children per day throughout a school year will stay home from school as a direct result of fear of bullying or physical violence. That equates to 4 million students per month out of 50.7 million. So 8%, roughly 8% of the public school education population is staying home from school per month to avoid bullying or fear of physical assaults. We also have a statistic that's even more mind-blowing, that there are 4,600 suicides per year of children between the ages of 12 and 18 as a direct result of bullying. Now, that does not include the students that have traumatic brain injury from physical assault. That doesn't include students that have been physically assaulted necessarily before. And it also doesn't include the students below the age of 12, which is a sad thing because there's an estimated another 600 children less than the age of 12 that will commit suicide this year.
Wow, what a powerful and informative video. DundalkTV highly recommends that you come back for part 2 of this interview with Josh and Nicole Landers and their friend Kevin Leary when they discuss more important issues that are going on in Baltimore County Public Schools.